I've never been the type to share my personal business online, but after what I found out about my wife, I feel like I need to get this off my chest. Maybe it'll help someone else who's going through the same nightmare. So here's the deal. I married Emily about 2 years ago. She's gorgeous, confident, a little bitchy, but charming enough that I thought I hit the jackpot. We had a pretty good life, or so I thought. We worked, we traveled, had our nights out, and I really believed she was loyal. But looking back now, I see the signs I ignored, the little things that were there but didn't seem like a big deal at the time. The first sign was how she started acting weird around her phone. She'd hide it when I got close, and if I tried to look over her shoulder, she'd get defensive, say I was paranoid or that I was reading too much into things. But I just shrugged it off. I mean, everyone has some secrets, right? Still, I noticed she was more irritable than usual, snapping at me over small stuff, her tone more bitchy, dismissive even. She'd roll her eyes when I talked about future plans, and she'd cancel plans last minute, always with some excuse about work or being tired. But I convinced myself maybe she was just stressed. Then last week, she had a girls' night out with her coworkers. She came home late, smelling like alcohol and perfume I didn't recognize. When I asked her about it, she lied, said she'd just gone out for drinks with her boss. Nothing happened, she said. But her stories didn't add up and her tone was too defensive, too quick to deny anything. I wanted to believe her, I really did. I kept telling myself I was paranoid, that maybe I was overthinking it, but deep inside I knew something was wrong. The real game changer came the day after her girls' night. I was cleaning up around the house trying to give her space when I decided to check her phone. Honestly, I didn't expect to find anything, but I was just curious. I never went snooping before, but I guess I was feeling suspicious. So I unlocked her phone, which she always said she didn't mind. She trusted me. I opened her messages, and what I saw made my stomach drop. There were texts between her and some guy named Mark, her coworker. The messages were flirty, suggestive. A few of them even crossed the line into outright sex talk. I saw conversations where they joked about meeting up, about their secret moments, and even plans to go out again without me knowing. What hurt the most was how casual she was about it, like it was no big deal. She kept saying she was just friends with Mark, that he was a nice guy but nothing more. Yeah, right. The tone of her messages made it clear they'd crossed a line, and she was lying through her teeth to cover it up. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those nights I spent trying to be understanding, trying to be patient, and she was out there screwing her coworker. And she's lying about it, making me question everything I thought I knew about her. I mean, how could she be so bitchy, so dismissive of me one minute, and then sneaking around behind my back like this? It's like I was invisible to her, just someone to keep around until she found something better. I've never felt so betrayed, so humiliated. It's like my entire world was crumbling, and all I kept asking myself was, how could she do this? After I saw those messages, I didn't sleep that night. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything. I felt a mixture of anger, hurt, and disbelief, like I'd been slapped across the face with a brick. How long had she been lying to me? How many times had I trusted her when she was out there chatting with Mark? I kept replaying everything, her attitude, her weird behavior, the late nights, the sudden irritability, all those little signs that now seemed obvious. But at the time, I ignored them because I wanted to believe she was just stressed or tired. Foolish, I know. I stayed up, staring at her phone screen, trying to figure out my next move. I wasn't going to confront her right away. I needed to think, to plan. I decided I'd gather more evidence, see if there was more to the story. Maybe I was overreacting, maybe I was paranoid, but deep inside I knew better. I knew this wasn't just some innocent flirtation. She'd crossed a line and she was lying about it. I felt like I was living in some bad dream, but I couldn't wake up. The next morning I confronted her. I woke her up early just as she was trying to roll over and act like everything was normal. I held her phone in my hand and I showed her the messages. Her face instantly changed. She went pale, her eyes darted, and she started spinning her usual bullshit. "It's nothing," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're overanalyzing. Mark is just a friend, it's not what you think." She sat up, looked me straight in the eyes, and said, "You're just insecure. I don't know why you're making a big deal out of this." I wasn't buying it. I was furious. I told her I saw everything, the texts, the plans, the sex talk, and she still denied it. Instead of owning up, she started yelling at me, calling me paranoid, accusing me of snooping and invading her privacy. She said I was crazy for suspecting her, that I was just jealous because I wasn't satisfying her in bed, or that I was insecure about her success at work. Her words stung like hell. She's always been manipulative, but that day she took it to a new level. She tried to turn it around, make me feel guilty instead of owning her bullshit. Honestly, I don't even remember much of what I said after that. I was overwhelmed with a flood of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal. I felt like I'd been hit in the chest with a hammer. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she pretend everything was fine while she was out there screwing her coworker? I thought I knew her, but I guess I never really did. The woman I married, the woman I loved, she was just a stranger hiding behind a pretty face and a bunch of lies. I was ready to explode, but I knew I had to keep my cool. I needed to think about what I wanted to do next, because this was not just a mistake. It was a full-blown betrayal. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it that easily. After I confronted her, the atmosphere in the apartment was tense, thick with unspoken words and anger simmering just below the surface. Emily kept insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that Mark was just a coworker she sometimes exchanged friendly messages with, nothing more. She threw in the usual lines: "I'm not cheating on you, you're overreacting, this is all in your head." But I wasn't buying any of her bullshit anymore. Seeing those messages, reading her explicit texts, made it clear she'd been lying for weeks, maybe longer. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to process what I just learned. My stomach was twisted, my head pounding. I felt betrayed, humiliated, like I'd been stupid for trusting her in the first place. I looked at her, her face contorted in defensive rage, and I realized I needed to decide what I was going to do. Do I confront her further? Do I just walk away? The truth was, I was furious and hurt, but a part of me was also numb, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster. I had always believed in honesty, in loyalty, and now I was staring at this mess she had created. I remember feeling the air grow heavy, like the walls were closing in, and suddenly I could hold it in anymore. I told her I needed space, that I was done talking until I'd sorted through what this all meant for us. I grabbed some clothes, went to the guest room, and shut the door behind me. I sat there, staring at the wall, trying to keep my composure. All I kept thinking about was how she was acting so bitchy, so dismissive, like she didn't care about what she'd done. It made me sick. I kept wondering, was this just a fling, or had she been thinking about leaving me for a while? How could I have missed all the signs? In the hours that followed, I sifted through every interaction, every look she ever gave me, trying to find some reason I could cling to. But all I found was this bitter truth. I was completely blindsided. I felt like a fool for trusting her, for believing she was faithful. The images of those messages replayed over and over in my head, and I kept asking myself why she did it, why she thought she could get away with it. I thought about how she always acted so superior, so dismissive of me, like I was just some inconvenience she tolerated. Now I see it was all a mask. I was just a placeholder until she found someone better, someone like Mark. Part of me wanted to punch a hole in the wall, and another part just wanted to cry. I'd never felt so broken in my life. Every time I looked at her, I saw a stranger, someone I didn't know at all. I felt angry, yes, but mostly I was just devastated. That night I stayed up, staring at my phone, trying to decide whether I should confront her again, threaten her, or just leave it all behind. I was so full of rage, but also a deep, aching sadness. I came to the conclusion that I couldn't stay in this relationship knowing she'd been lying and cheating. I didn't want to be some fool who kept begging for answers she wasn't willing to give. I finally told her I'd had enough, that I was done playing her game. I didn't sleep that night either. I just sat there, quietly seething, trying to figure out how to get out of this mess without destroying everything. I knew one thing for sure: I was done with her bullshit. But the thought of what that meant, breaking up, ending years of what I thought was love, made me feel sick. It was like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing I'd have to jump, but not knowing if I'd survive the fall. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been run over by a truck. My head was pounding, my stomach was in knots, and my mind was still reeling from everything I'd uncovered. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was normal, not anymore. I had to face her again, but I wasn't sure what I'd say or do, only that I couldn't keep living in this lie. I decided I'd give her a chance to explain herself, but I was also preparing for the worst. I couldn't stay in this toxic situation, but I owed it to myself to hear her out one last time. She was in the kitchen when I came out of the guest room. She looked slightly more composed, but her eyes darted around like she was trying to gauge my mood. I took a deep breath and started the conversation. I told her I saw the messages, that I knew she'd been lying to me, and that I needed to hear her version of what was really going on. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and immediately went into damage control mode. "You're overreacting," she said. "It's not even that serious. Mark is just a friend. We're not doing anything, I swear." Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like she was annoyed I was even bringing it up. I could see she was trying to manipulate the situation to make me doubt what I saw. She claimed I was paranoid, that I didn't trust her and that I should just drop it. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her straight up that I'd seen the texts, that I knew she was lying, and that I wasn't going to pretend everything was okay. I told her I was done with her bullshit, that I deserved honesty, not some excuse about how it was just a mistake or nothing serious. She started yelling at me then, saying I was crazy, that I was just jealous and insecure. She accused me of invading her privacy, of being controlling, and then she threw in some classic insults. "Such a loser. You're pathetic if you think I'd cheat on you." It was like she was trying to push me away to make me feel guilty for catching her. Honestly, I was so angry I could have exploded. I told her I wasn't going to be her punching bag, that I was done tolerating her bitchy attitude and her lies. I told her I wanted her out of my life, that I was done with the whole charade. She stormed out of the kitchen, still sneering, calling me crazy and psycho. I just stood there feeling numb. That's when the realization hit me. I needed to get out to end this madness. I packed a bag, told her I was leaving, and headed out to stay at a friend's place. I didn't want to be around her anymore, not until I figured out what I was going to do. I felt like I'd lost a part of myself that day, like I'd been betrayed on a level I never thought possible. The woman I married, the woman I loved, she was gone, replaced by someone who didn't give a damn about me. The emotional roller coaster kept going. I was furious one minute, devastated the next, and then just numb. I kept asking myself how I ever thought she was the one. How could she be so bitchy, so dismissive, and then turn around and betray me like this? It was like I'd been living in a nightmare and I couldn't wake up. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to stay in a relationship built on lies and deceit. I owed it to myself to get out and start healing. I never thought I'd be the guy to get cheated on at my own wedding reception. But here I was, picking up the pieces of what I thought was love, now just a shattered mess. The days that followed were honestly the worst of my life. I felt like shit, angry, humiliated, broken. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to understand how I missed all the signs, how I let myself get blindsided like this. The worst part was the betrayal, knowing she'd been lying to me all along, sneaking around with Mark, acting like she was so perfect and loyal. I couldn't believe I was that guy, the one who was too stupid to see what was really happening. But at the same time, I was relieved I found out when I did. Better late than never, I guess. I kept asking myself why she did it. Was it just about sex? Or was she bored, unhappy in the marriage? Did she ever really love me? The answers didn't come easy, but part of me knew I'd never truly trust her again, no matter what she said or did. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I'd wasted years on someone who didn't care. Someone who lied and cheated like it was nothing. That realization hit me hard. I'd been a fool for so long, thinking she was different. I also couldn't help but feel angry at myself. I mean, I trusted her. I believed in us. I thought she was different from all those other women out there who cheat and lie. Turns out I was a damn idiot. I kept telling myself I should have seen the signs, should have known she was acting strange. But what hurts the most is how good she was at hiding it. She acted like everything was fine, like she loved me, while behind my back she was planning her escape with Mark. Eventually, I knew I had to make a choice. I could try to forgive her, pretend it never happened, and see if we could fix this mess. Or I could cut my losses and move on. Honestly, the idea of staying with her made me sick to my stomach. I knew I'd never trust her again, and what's the point of that? Love is built on trust, and she broke that in the worst way. So, I decided I was done. Done with the lies, the betrayal, the bitchy attitude she kept throwing at me like I was some inconvenience she needed to put up with. I told her she had to leave. I didn't want her in my space anymore. I wanted distance, clarity. She threw a fit, of course, saying I was overreacting, that I was being dramatic. But I didn't care. I told her she was a liar and a cheat, and I was sick of her bullshit. That's when she started crying, which only made me feel more angry because I knew it was just an act. Just a way to manipulate me into feeling guilty. I wasn't falling for her tears anymore. I packed her things and she stormed out, still cursing me, still trying to turn everything around. Since then, I've been trying to pick up the pieces. It's not easy. Some days I feel numb, some days I feel rage, and other days I just feel a deep loss. I keep thinking about how much I trusted her, how she played me like a fool. But I also know I can't change what happened. I have to move on, rebuild my life without her. It's going to take time, but I'm determined not to let her betrayal define me. I learned a hard lesson: trust is fragile, and some people are just not worth your pain. If I could give any advice, it's this. Don't ignore the signs, and don't let anyone treat you like you're less than you are. Because in the end, you gotta do what's best for you, even if it hurts like hell. Now, looking back, I realize how much this whole mess has changed me. I used to believe in happily ever after, in loyalty, in the idea that I found someone I could trust with my life. That illusion was shattered, and I don't think I'll ever see love the same way again. But in a strange way, I'm grateful for the wake-up call. It made me realize I shouldn't settle for someone who doesn't value me or who can betray me so easily. I've learned to trust my instincts a little more, and to listen to that little voice that warns me when something's off. I've also learned that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away from someone who doesn't deserve your loyalty. I don't regret confronting her, even though it hurt like hell. Better to face the truth than live in denial, right? I've started focusing on myself, trying to rebuild my confidence and find happiness again. It's not easy. Some days are better than others, but I know I'm stronger now. I realize that not everyone is worth the pain, and that I deserve someone who's honest, loyal, and respectful. I've had enough of the bitchy attitude, the lies, and the sneaking around. From now on, I'm going to take better care of myself and be more careful about who I trust. To anyone out there going through something similar, just remember you're not alone. You deserve better than someone who cheats and lies. Don't stay in a relationship because you think you're supposed to, or because you're scared to be alone. The pain is temporary, but the lessons you learn are lifelong. Keep your head up, stay strong, and don't let anyone treat you like you're less than you are. Because in the end, you're the one who has to live with your choices, and you deserve to be happy.